how do we convince stakeholders to support us, to say, oh, this makes a lot of sense. I want to support you. So let's start off with, yeah, how would you pitch this? Let's say it could be any initiative, but yeah, how do you convince stakeholders to support your initiatives? What do you do? What do you have to include?
Yeah, so I would say if you've done your research, all the research that I just talked about with leadership development, it means that you've done your due diligence, right? I think that's very, very, very important. And my short answer to this question is do your due diligence. Now the long answer is might be a bit more complicated, but I think like every L&D initiative, just like any other business initiative, needs to be backed by a business case. And you have to be able to write the business case, answering the questions that your stakeholders are looking for, right? And also in the way that they are looking for, because if you think about it, everyone is so busy these days, so you need to be as concise as possible. But going back to the questions that I would answer in preparing my pitch or in building my business case, I would always start with either the problem that we're trying to solve or the opportunity we're chasing as a business. So this is the first question. What problem are we trying to solve, or what's the opportunity we're chasing? Then the second problem, it's really interesting because people would usually jump right into solution. What's my solution for this? But I would take another step backwards and I would look at how did I come by this problem, right? How did I learn about this problem slash opportunity? What's the internal or external research that I did to learn more about it, to learn more about the problem, to learn more about different solutions that have been already, tried out to solve that problem. So that's the second question I would answer. And then I would think about my solution. And that actually I wouldn't call it solution, because it's not a solution until it's proven to work, right? And I learned this from a course I did, and it was very powerful. So what's my initiative, and why do I think my initiative is the best one to solve this problem slash chase this opportunity, right? So out of, because there's always a various list of things you can do, a big list of things you can do, but why you should pick my initiative. And then I would start going into the results people should expect to see after this initiative is implemented. And then the I would say the obvious answers, the obvious questions: what resources do we need to make this happen, and what's the timeline that we are also assuming? And first, to go back to resources can mean anything, right? It doesn't always have to be budget. It can be people that we need involved. It can be technology that we need. Everything that should make this happen should go into the resources question. And yeah, in my opinion, you need to gather as many data points as possible from as many resources. And because I mentioned something else when I started answering, that you need to be concise. I don't mean that you don't need to have all the details. You actually need to have as many details as possible, but it doesn't mean that your pitch, or when you send your business case over to over email, right, to your stakeholders, that it needs to have all the details. Because first, I think you need to nail the questions and the language they are looking for. And if you did that, you would have sparked their curiosity, and they will ask for more details. And yeah, you will have all the Excel files and the doc files and whatever you have with your research and all the plans that you have to show or send over and so on. But you really need to be good at summarizing your thoughts to when you're pitching your ideas.
Mhm.
You know, and I keep mentioning research and I keep mentioning data
Yeah.
because I think from everyone I've been speaking to, and I've been speaking to, I don't know, over 200 L&Ds in the last year,
Mm.
everyone knows that we have a branding problem in our organizations because we're looked at as people persons, as the ones with the training programs, right? And it's really, really powerful. And I've been experiencing this in my own career, is really, really powerful as an L&D professional to show numbers, to show market research. You will see people's jaw dropping, which is a really empowering feeling, I would say. I also think it's really interesting because, you know, there are two outcomes of this. Your
Mhm.
idea might be accepted and implemented and so on, but
Mhm.
your idea might not, right? It doesn't matter how good it is. It might be timing, it might be whatever. What I think you can do as an L&D professional is to ask why. Like, don't stop there. Don't stop at we're not doing this, or I don't think it's a good time. Just try and understand why was your idea not the best one, why was the timing wrong, because it will inform so much of what you will do from then on, right? So yeah, don't don't stop at receiving a no.
Yeah, don't give up. I mean, use it as a learning. It's a learning opportunity, right? It's a way to make the next initiative better, or understand more what the stakeholder is looking for. How can it align with what their particular goals is? Was it a positioning thing? Was my document too long, or the way it was, even the presentation? It's actually, I had a question for you. Is there a particular format or length that you found been successful in terms of presentation?
So I wouldn't go longer if I use a Google Doc. I wouldn't go longer than two pages.
Yeah.
That's at the most that people
Mhm.
are willing to read. And obviously, it depends of the format of your presentation as
Right.
well. Like if you need to pitch in front of an audience, PowerPoints are completely fine. They can do some really nice stuff. And if you need to send over, all the research, yeah, just
Mhm.
first send that 2 pages Google Doc, one
Mhm.
page if you're really, really good at summarizing,
Yeah.
and then have all the other details in other documents.
And that actually brings me to another question, which is, when we think about all the different things we can do to make this case go, work, is there a particular problem that you see people either run into a lot, or like a common mistake that you should definitely be avoiding or definitely put emphasis on?
There's just one problem, and it's mostly I'm gonna lead with it's because of our experience, because we've been so used to having solutions thrown at us, which leads to us not being so skilled in pitching solutions, right? So I have to start with the first one, which I think it's really important, and I don't think it's only for L&D professionals. Obviously, I think other people in other industries do make this mistake as well, going at it from a solution perspective. So obviously your solution can sound awesome. It might sound like, oh my god, it's gonna revolutionize whatever you want to do,
Yeah.
but does it solve a problem? Like, is
Hmm.
there something that will benefit from your solution? So I would never start with my solution. I would always start with the problem or opportunity that I'm trying to explore, right? So that's number
Yeah.
one.
Hmm.
Then number two, even if I start with a problem, or again an opportunity,
Hmm.
and then I just throw my solution out there, I don't think it's the best way of doing it, because I really need to be careful at how I draw a cause-effect line between the problem you're trying to solve or the opportunity you're trying to chase and the solution you are pitching, right? You really need to, yeah, just be very, very careful at how you present the link between the two. Then another thing is talking about risks as well, because it happened to me, probably it happened to you as well. You think about a solution so hard and you put so much energy into it, and you just think it's perfect, right? You think it's the best thing out there. And that's when overconfidence bias hits you. You know, you start having blind spots. You stop thinking about what could go wrong with the implementation, right? So I would always be careful at presenting the risks as well, not only the happy thoughts about your solutions. Just have a list of risks. If you already have ideas about how to mitigate them, that's amazing. If you don't, it's okay to just have them there for people to see that you aren't, just delusional about your idea. The fourth idea I have, and I think it relates to my previous answers, is that we tend to go into so many details, right? I don't think we need to do that. I think we need to be very good at summarizing, being concise about the things we present. Another idea I have is that we go out there and we throw everything at one solution, which I don't think it's the best way to go by. I think having backup plans, and when I think about backup plans, it doesn't actually have to be an entirely new solution, but it can be even a prototype of a smaller part of your solution. And I have to give an example here, because I've seen it in action, and it was so powerful. So in my previous company, we were about to launch this huge career development program for 800 people. It's running already, and it has to run for 2 years. So a huge initiative. But and obviously the budget was very big, but we started thinking, will this have any impact? Our KPI was retention, obviously, retention and internal transfers. The most important one was internal transfers. And we thought, what's the smallest thing we can do to see if this might work? And we launched internal mentorship program for 25 people, if I remember correctly. So for a very, very small audience, it ran for 6 months. And again, if you compare it to the big project we wanted to launch, this was like a very, very small initiative. And we looked at all the results we had with that program, and what it did for us is, it helped us have more confidence in our big project, because even for that small initiative, we saw results. We saw people transferring from a job to another in a very, very short timeline. So we knew already that one part of the program was definitely going to go right. So this is what I'm talking about when I say have some sort of backup plan. And the sixth one, and the last one that comes to mind, is about feedback. And I think I mentioned this, like, just ask for feedback. No matter if your initiative is approved or not, ask for feedback, because it will either help you improve your current solution, or it will help you improve your future solutions, your future way of pitching. And it's just an amazing opportunity for the learning.
Yeah, that's a fantastic answer. Makes it really clear, and a lot of actionable insights to work on. Now, for the next question then, let's say you pitch it, You've avoided the mistakes. They listen to you closely, but you still get the no. You're in person. You got the no for some reason, and it seems like there's a lot of resistance. There's like maybe one person on your board saying, "Oh my gosh, this doesn't make any sense." Da da da. Just causing problems. You're encountering a lot of resistance. You're feeling obviously, pretty down about it. How do you overcome resistance? What do you do? What do you do with this?
I'm gonna go first with the buzzword, which is resilience.
I love resilience.
So resilience is the first thing that comes to mind. The second one is learning, and I'm gonna explain that shortly. And the third one is celebration, which is gonna sound a bit wrong in the context that you just mentioned.
Yeah.
But let me explain the second one, learning, right? These types of situations and the barriers you face in your career will shape you no matter if you do something about it or not, right? If you just let it happen, you're gonna you're gonna have so much frustration. Oh, these people, they don't want to do anything, they just say no, they whatever. And I've met people that have gotten to a point where they can't move on just because they've seen so much resistance. But you can change your mindset and you can see it as a learning opportunity. You can choose to dictate the way resistance shapes you as a professional. And I would just ask questions again. You don't have to actually ask other people questions, even asking yourself questions. Why are they resisting? At least in my opinion, if you have the space to ask others, that's amazing. What's happening in the organization? Is there something I'm missing? Is there, I don't know, is there a feedback I could have asked for? Or is there a feedback I should be giving right now about this particular situation? Because obviously there's also a point where people might not make sense and you might need to step up and speak up with your opinion, right? So I would ask all these questions. I would reflect a lot about them and just try and see these points, these barriers in my career as learning opportunities, right? Rather than let them shape myself.
Yeah.
So that's the learning piece. Then the resilience piece, I think it's a lot about understanding why are you doing things. And I'm not talking about why your L&D team is doing things or why your organization is doing things, is why you as a person, why are you there? Because that's where you will draw energy from in times of, of resistance and of challenges and barriers. And you can recover, I think you can recover faster when your why is very, very clear, right? And the third one, which is celebration, I think it's also a way to re-energize yourself, right? Because obviously you might feel some resistance in your organization, but there are also some things that you're doing right. There's feedback that you're getting, that things are impactful or whatever. There might be some small moments of celebration for you. Don't What we tend to do, especially during the past 2 years, I felt that a lot, is that we just go past them. It doesn't matter, next project checked, next thing. And I don't think we should function like that, because small celebration moments are the ones that re-energize us for the moments of resistance. And it can be resistance from not only the executive team, it can be from people managers, it can be from individual contributors. We definitely face resistance, but you have to think about it as a small bag of energy that you have, and you need to replenish it from time to time. And you just need to be careful at doing that if you want to face resistance in a more effective way.
Absolutely. Okay. That's yeah. I need to apply. I think everyone could apply something like that, especially for the celebration piece for me was new. You're right. It's really easy to just keep it. Okay, next. This is over. Next. You don't really have that re-energizing. You're just kind of in the back of your mind. You're like, ugh. That's a really good one. I've never heard that one. So definitely, I'll be using that pretty much immediately. Now, Lavinia. Okay, so when we're building up our case with different stakeholders, right? We have our C-level, the CEO, VPs, et cetera, the team leads, right? So a dev team lead or the end user, right? A member of the team. So it's a junior, let's say a junior dev, right? Each of them have to buy in, let's say if you do an initiative that affects them all. So how do you approach each of them? They're saying, okay, I have a lot of time. I'm really busy. I have a lot of things to do. And you're going to tell me I'm going to be doing this now, and that's going to take some of my time. What do they care about? Or what are some things that you think about or that they care about that you communicate with them for each of these levels?
Well, I think obviously it depends a lot on who they are, right? So I think
Yeah.
my answers will be quite general, but my advice would be for every L&D professional to try and get to know their audience as much as possible. But from my experience, let's start with the C-level, right? I think C-levels still prioritize and care a lot about revenue, about market share, about growth, about satisfying different stakeholders. And when I think about different stakeholders, there might be clients and customers that your business has, or there might be investors that you need to give back to at some point. So you need to have this full picture of who your CEO's stakeholders are, right? Because that's where their interest lies. So I think C-level execs are still very, very into that. I wouldn't say that they don't care, like nobody cares about people and about creating a fulfilling work environment. It's just that I think we need some more time to reach there, to
Yeah.
actually see, the work environment being prioritized over other things. And I obviously, to be honest, I think there should be a good balance between the two. But yeah, that's what I've seen C-levels caring about. Then if you think about team leads, so many things can play out into their interest, right? So it can
Yeah.
be, about delivering on their promise. It can be about their personal growth and their personal careers and how they grow it and they move around it. It can be also about work-life balance, right? That can also be a very, very, and I would say that you need to think about that when it comes to everyone. But I think from the exec team downward, I've seen people value way more work-life balance. And obviously for others, it's really important to have an impact on how their team is growing and how each individual in their team is growing. So I think these are just some of the things team leads care about. But yeah, again, you need to just check it for yourself, for your teams. And in the end, you have individual contributors, right? And here motivations can vary as well. I would say that people right now, at least, I see people caring a lot about their mental health, a lot about work-life balance, a lot about how impactful they are as individuals in their organizations, and how they can see themselves growing and moving around the company. So it stopped, in my opinion, it already stopped, or it will stop soon in the future, being only about that or that career ladder, and it will be more about moving around to learn and understand more about the company and the organization. So obviously also having a good manager is really important for people. Having a manager that understands them, that understands boundaries, that helps them grow, that's also very, very, very important. So I think obviously there are some common denominators between people on every level and between people from every organization. But yeah, the best thing you can do is to go out there and just listen to people, even if you don't talk precisely about what's important for them. Just listen to them, because what they say will reveal what's actually important for them.
Absolutely, especially from the listening and seeing what's important for the, from us standpoint, the team lead standpoint. CEO, I think you nailed it on the head. Revenue growth, that to me is almost clear. We've seen universally in our own experience, but from the team leads too, it was about constantly, we keep running into this, which is, how is this going to help me develop or grow my team in the way that I want, based on my OKRs or based on our goals, and the least amount of effort that it takes me, because I'm already super busy. And that's what we see. And then even further than that, if you are searching for people to bring in your team, especially, what's important to team leads, look for people, team leads who are already excited about learning. Have those conversations like Lavinia said. And when you have those conversations, you're going to have what we call the early adopters, especially with new learning initiatives or new initiatives, who are super excited, who will promote you no matter, will promote your idea. And then you're going to have the laggards or people who are adopting it later on. But those early initiators, if there's, let's say, 20% or even 10% of your company, because talk to them and get them on board, because once they get excited, the rest of them get excited. And especially taking that as it waterfalls down to the individual contributors, when they see their team leads excited, then they're like, I see what's in it for me. It's very clear. It permeates throughout the entire company if you can get them both on board. So really, really, really interesting that we found. Team leads are definitely a big key to making that successful in any initiatives that we found when you involve them.